Hey, everybody, what's going on? I'm Aslan Hajavandi, Director of Digital Media for Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. Over there, Michael Langston, Recruiting Analyst for Warchant.com. Thank you for being here on Warchant TV, obviously part of the Warchant.com family. Subscribe to our YouTube channel here. Download the app. You can use it on Android. You can use it on an iPhone. Just type Warchant in your app store. Download it. You can stay connected with everything. What else can they do, Michael, to help out with the cause?
You can always hit the like button. We love when you do that. That certainly helps us do all these great things. Hey, download the War Chant app too. While you're at it, knock that out. Do it all in one swoop. But we appreciate it. Hit the like button for us.
All right, Michael, we are gathered here today to talk about hot board linebackers. This is an important position for Florida State. They got one in the fold already with Demarco Ward. How many guys do they ultimately want to take, Michael? And what sort of start do they have with having Ward in the fold?
I think their quota's kind of two, but they can stretch it to three. I could see them stretching it to three, but they already have Demarco Ward. He plays for the in the highest classification in Georgia. Plays for Duluth. Very instinctive guy. You watch him; he goes sideline to sideline. I like what I see when I watch a lot of his film. His speed really jumps out to me when I watch him just in coverage and just the different areas, the way he closes on the ball and how fast he closes there. So I think his film is really good. When I watched his film, I was pleasantly surprised because I didn't realize he was as good as I didn't think he was going to look that good where he was that fluid. The way you watch him, especially against top competition in Georgia, and you see a lot of that. Had a pick six in there, big hits across the middle. Like I said, the way he gets off blocks is my biggest thing that I like is the way he sheds off blocks, and then certainly his speed and athletic ability. Now there's some raw material there that you're going to have to fine tune with you know hand placement, things he does, how he does in coverage that he could do better with his footwork and his stance and also his hands. He could get them in the right place, and there's things you can clean up with technique. I see a lot of that stuff, but I see this guy as being a guy that certainly can make an impact at FSU. Maybe not the first year, but I think he's a guy that the more you watch his film, the more you like him because of just that speed in general. What he brings.
All right, a lot of this draw to the hot board is because people want to see who else is out there, who else is a good possibility. Let's go to the left coast, right? There's a guy out there in California that Florida State's got a pretty good shot at.
Yeah, West Coast Noles. They want some more. They have obviously have Cam at tight end, but they like the West Coast kids. We know AJ Duffy is from the West Coast. Who I think he knows Blake from what I've heard. But yeah, Blake Nicholson visited FSU in the spring, or actually I want to say summer. He officially visited FSU on June 17th. He was out there, really got a glimpse of everything. His mom and dad were there. They really loved it, seemed to connect. But you're kind of like, okay, he's been to Oregon like 3 or 4 times, and then now he's coming back to FSU on July 30th, which I think is a major deal. It tells you a lot about his interests. I've always thought that it's FSU and Oregon, and I always thought that from the start that FSU is much more of a player than I think a lot of people were giving them credit for. Pretty much a composite 4 star. He's a 3 star on Rivals. Certainly, you watch this kid. He doesn't. He definitely doesn't look like a 3 star to me. Just the way way he closes and the way he finishes tackles is very impressive, and then his speed is very good. But I think his best quality is just the way he can explode off the blocks, not just tackle, but really explode through the tackles. And I think a guy athletically, you have no problem putting in coverage. You think he can do it, and then he can certainly come off the edge and blitz if you need to. So he's kind of a guy of a trait that they've loved from the start. He's one of their top prospects that they've considered. And once again, this is another kid that I think speed is a big part of his game. When you watch what he does when he comes off that block and finish the play, his range is really good as far as how quick he can close on tackles. And those are some things that really have always stood out to me about Blake. I think FSU has a great shot here. I mean, in fact, I've already forecasted him to FSU. I know everyone else, a lot of people pick Morgan. I just feel like his family wants to be in Florida. From what I hear, his mom and dad like the state of Florida. They're retired, so I think they're going to move off the West Coast. So I think that, and then just the way he feels about Randy Shannon, the way he feels about this team, the defense, the fit as far as in FSU. And I think he just really surprised himself how much he loved FSU and the fact that he's coming back for their big final summer event. I think that's a major deal. So I think FSU has the momentum. Yeah, is there some work to do to finish it off? Yes. But do I think they have the momentum? Yes. I think that's kind of where I sit on Blake Nicholson.
2-team race, then, you think? Florida State, Oregon?
I think UCLA's also in there, but I hear more. I mean, Oregon's been the team that I've heard that's the biggest competition for FSU. So I don't want to eliminate the Bruins because certainly they're about to head off to the Big Ten. So that's an attraction, but I hear more about Oregon and FSU when it comes to Blake.
All right, so maybe 2 guys they take, possibly 3 linebackers. Let's throw a third name out there. Getting back onto the West Coast would be pretty cool for Florida State. Also reasserting themselves in the DMV, that
Yeah.
area, would be a huge part for them. What do they got cooking up up along the Atlantic coast there, Michael?
Yeah, they have a kid named Caleb Woodson. I got a tip recently that he was going to visit FSU. He knows he's committed to Virginia Tech, and he's certainly from the Virginia area and a familiar school that FSU hits up often is Battlefield. So I think this kid kind of fits kind of the typical DMV kid, where explosive hitter, very very instinctive as far as what he can do in coverage, and a guy that's going to be on campus on July 30th. The fact that he's coming to campus tells me there's some intrigue from FSU. They maybe want to get to know him, feel him out, just kind of how interested are you in FSU? I know it says safety, but I could see him being an outside linebacker, to be honest, when it all shakes down. So I think I think it's certainly a guy who could play safety or linebacker, and that's a good thing. But I like everything this guy does, and the one thing we see with his game, obviously the instincts are really good, but the way he explodes through tackles too. I mean, that I've said that a lot today with these guys that we've covered, but it's also just you have to have instincts, but you also have the ability to get off blocks, and I think all three of these guys do that well. Certainly with Caleb, he's kind of a safety slash outside linebacker, so he's going to be more comfortable that we'll see in coverage. I mean, there's times where they put him at corner, but that was very early in his career. I think he's grown a lot as far as physically, but I think he's very genuinely interested in FSU. The fact that he's coming all the way from Virginia speaks to that. And then just people I've talked to, from the FSU side say, we're intrigued by this guy. We want to see kind of how it goes when we meet him, because culture fit is a big deal for FSU when they look at all these kids. So I think it's really just a feel out process. It's not about football wise. I think they feel pretty good about this kid, but I think they want to see like culturally fit, just how comfortable he is, and just see what connections there. But he's certainly a guy that I have on the radar that they could make a move for, and certainly one I like.
That's 3 dudes that we talked about. There's plenty more names over on the hot board, which you got to check out over at warchant.com. Michael, thanks for the access to all that information, man. We sure appreciate it.
You got it anytime.